Hey guys, it's Miss Phillips here, working from home. It's a digital learning day, and I thought I would take some time to review some of the things that we've been doing in class. So today we're going to talk about or review dividing a whole number by unit fraction and dividing a unit fraction by a whole number. So we'll sort of look at the difference, and I'll draw some pictures, and we'll talk about how you solve these problems. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to look at is dividing a whole number by a unit fraction. So let's come up with a problem. Let's just say that we're going to look at 4 wholes divided by 1/3. Okay, so the first thing I need to look at is the fact that I'm dealing with 4 wholes, and I'm going to divide them into groups of 1/3. Okay, I'm going to split my 4 wholes into thirds. So we can think 4 wholes split into thirds. Okay, so let's do that. Let me draw 4 wholes. And of course, you know I always tell you in class, let's just work with rectangles. It makes things a lot easier. Of course, you can choose your shape if you would like, but rectangles are always nice to work with. So if I draw 4 wholes here, then I am going to split these 4 wholes into thirds. Okay, so let me split those into thirds. Okay, and then the question that I need to ask myself is, how many groups of 1/3 can I find in these 4 wholes? Okay, so let's take a look at these. I know that I have a third here, I have another third, and I have another third. So 3/3 equals 1 whole. So I have 3/3 in this one, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So 4 divided by 1/3, 4 wholes divided by 1/3 equals 12. This means that if I take 4 wholes and I divide it into groups of a third, so if I divide it into thirds, how many 1/3s do I have? And you can see that I have 12. Okay, so let's look at a couple more. This will be a great review for you while you're at home, no day, just to kind of give you a reminder of some things so that when you come back to class, we are ready to move on. So let's take a few more of those. Let's take 3 wholes and divide it by 1/4. So let's find out how many fourths are in 3 wholes. So think to yourself for just a minute, how are we going to solve this? What is the first thing that we're going to do? And if you're thinking that we are going to draw 3 wholes first, then you are correct. So I am going to draw 3 rectangles. Okay, and I am going to split these 3 wholes. If you remember before, we split them into thirds. This time we're going to split them into fourths. Okay, so I'm going to split this one into fourths, and they are not all equal pieces. You know, Miss Phillips isn't an artist, but we are getting an idea of what's going on. So I'm splitting it into 4 parts. Okay, so we have 4 parts there and there. Keep in mind we did that because our denominator over here is fourths. So that's why we split each of these 3 wholes into fourths. So the question is, how many fourths are in 3 wholes? And we can do the same thing that we did before. We can come over here and we can see this has 4 parts. So each of these is 1/4. So we would have a fourth here, a fourth here, a fourth here, and a fourth here. Okay? And we know from what we've learned in class that 4/4 equals 1 whole. And you will see that we have another 4/4 equals 1 whole. and you will see another 4/4 equals 1 whole. So we have 1 whole, 2 wholes, 3 wholes, 3 whole rectangles, 3 whole candy bars, 3 whole whatever it is that you're working with. So we have these 3, and that makes up our 3 holes that we have there. So the question again is, how many 1/4 are in 3? So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 3 holes divided by 1/4 equals 12. There are 12 1/4 in 3 holes. Okay, let's just do one more. This time let's take 5 holes and divide it by 1/5. So we're looking at how many 1/5 are in 5 holes. And you should remember, hopefully so, you're already thinking to yourself, how many do I need to draw? So we need to look at our 5 holes because it's the 5 holes that we're splitting up. So I'm going to draw 5 rectangles, okay? And we are going to split those each into 5 parts because 5 is my denominator there. And we want to see how many 5ths we have. So we're going to split this into, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I draw 4 lines, I'm going to get 5 parts. Okay, so our question is, how many 1/5 do we have? So let's just take a look. Let's look at our first whole candy bar or whole rectangle that we're working with. And I have 1/5 here, 1/5 here, 1/5 here, 1/5 here, and 1/5 here. And there again, we can look at this and say that 5/5 equals 1 whole. So we have 5 here, we have another 5 here, another 5 here, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, okay? So 5 divided by 1/5, I would end up with 25 groups of 1/5. So let's say that I take 1/5 divided by 3. So in this case, the denominator is going to tell us how many parts, that we need to split our rectangles into. I'm going to draw one rectangle and I'm going to split it into, and of course we don't have equal pieces there, and I apologize. I know this is fractions, but we're just looking at a model here to hopefully help us understand. So I have drawn a rectangle. I've split my rectangle into 5 pieces. Now remember, I am looking at 1/5. I am trying to figure out that if I take 1/5 of the candy bar, 1/5, and I divide that 1/5 into 3 pieces, okay, what would one of those pieces be equal to out of the whole candy bar? So in order to do that, I can just continue my lines across, and I see that this would equal 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So if I take 1/5 of a candy bar and I divide it into 3 pieces, I'm going to end up with 1/15 of the whole candy bar. Let's do a few more. So let's say that I take 1/3 and I divide it by 4. And I want to find out what it's equal to. So I see that I have a 3 here, so that's going to tell me that I draw a rectangle and I split it into 3 parts. Now, you know that you're only going to draw one rectangle, because if you have 1/3 of something, we don't even have a whole. So we're going to draw just one candy bar or one rectangle and look at the 1/3 part of it. So let's look at 1/3. I'm going to take that 1/3 and I'm going to divide it into 4 parts, and I'm looking at this section. So if I continue on, I see that my answer is going to be 1, and your denominator will be how many parts are in all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we end up with 1/12 of the candy bar. So I hope that was a great review for you working with unit fractions. And enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you back at school.